Welcome to part 2 of the series on teen anxiety and stress, a parent guide. In part 1, we discussed 3 major categories or types of reasons or triggers that cause teen anxiety. The first being the fear of failure. Second, the fear of rejection by one's peers or others. And the third being the category of stigmas that contributes to teen anxiety and stress. In part 2, we'll go over some of the recommendations or the strategies that parents can use with their children to help them overcome and cope with the situations of anxiety and stress. But before I start, let me start with these words from a famous psychologist, Stephen Hayes. He says, "If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always got." The first step in overcoming stubborn anxiety is the knowledge of what emotions are and how they work. Now, the quick-to-conclusion types among us will jump and say, "We all know about emotions. We know when we are sad, mad, angry, or disgusted." But the question is, does your child have the ability to differentiate between being mad and being betrayed? Can your child differentiate between being angry and being judgmental? Does your child have the ability to differentiate between being sad and being abandoned? Knowing emotions to this level of specificity can help pinpoint the specific cause and the trigger that initiated a particular phase of anxiety in your child. This level of awareness alone can provide a sense of empowerment from a vague "I'm mad, sad, or upset" to "Sam embarrassed me for wearing worn-out shoes in front of Julie, whom I was supposed to go out on a hike with this weekend, and I didn't have money to buy new shoes." With this level of specificity, we can inch towards an action step, either to raise money from some source for new shoes or be straightforward with Julie and let her know you can't have new shoes until some time. Walter Anderson, a renowned painter and writer, said it succinctly: "Nothing diminishes anxiety faster than action." The knowledge of specific emotions or emotional literacy provides a path to action steps towards the source or sources of anxiety. And action is the antidote of anxiety. The speaking of action brings me to my next recommendation or advice in combating teen anxiety. This is the advice on physical activity, especially when it's done together with your child. And by physical activity, I mean intense, fast, cardio-type activity, meaning biking, running, dancing, wall or mountain climbing, soccer, or basketball playing. These types of intense physical exercises release endorphin hormones in the body. The euphoric excitement you feel after a run is due to the surge of endorphins. This feeling of excitement is also called runner's high. Regular intense exercise can easily overcome mild to moderate level of anxiety and depression without any medication with the release of endorphins. At this point, I must note that medication like Prozac and Xanax do have a role in mental health, but they should only be considered for severe conditions where urgent intervention is necessary, since they also have their addictive side effects leading to possible permanent dependency. We will go over the full list of emotions and their categories in a separate program on emotional literacy. At this point, we'll go over only a few examples here. You can practice teaching of emotions with your children without being an expert psychologist. One way of teaching about emotions and the ways of expressing them is through engaging your child in how would you react type of questions in real life scenarios. Pick up examples of contentious emotional issues from the neighborhood, from the relatives, from the newspapers, and ask your child what they would do in such situations. Explore different options. This gives them practice on exploring more than one reaction to any given situation. They would understand the difference between knee-jerk reactions to emotional conflicts and their alternatives. It's an effective way of empowering your children and making them understand that surrendering to emotions without being mindful of their causes is only for the untrained in the science of emotions. But before you can explore such options together, you will need to overcome the barriers in communicating with your children. One major barrier to effective treatment of anxiety and stress in children is a lack of trust or communication between parents and children. Children find it difficult to open up to their parents for fear of being blamed for their own troubles, even when it's true. I am stressing on parents as the first line of defense against child anxiety because it's the parent's life too which gets affected when their children are distressed. Now, in my experience, there are two things that I have found highly effective in building trust and communication with your child. I'm saying this on the authority of a parent who has recently raised 3 teenage boys with varying levels of success, but overall, I'm pretty happy with the outcome. I must admit, I had a great help in the form of their mother who was on board with most of the recommendations I'm making here. We often worked in tandem with each other in making sure there's consistency and continuity in the methods. Now, this mention of teamwork with my dear bride brings me back to the one factor that contributes immensely to teen anxiety and depression, and that is the factor of broken families in today's society. The absence of a father or a mother figure from the family can and will affect the sense of security and protection in children. But let me be clear here. Just the presence of a father and a mother around without an active positive engagement in children's life is like there being no father or mother. Forced bonding by asking your child to sit with you or spend time with you without piquing his or her curiosity to how they will benefit from spending time with you is of no consequence. Bonding with children comes in 2 ways. First, give them a judgment-free environment. They must be sure their parents will not judge them when they fail or falter. Their parents will come to their support even when they're wrong, especially in front of someone else. An unconditional, judgment-free home does not mean a free-for-all absence of any accountability. It just means failure is accepted as an acceptable option when an effort is proven made towards certain goal. Second chance, a third chance, even a fourth chance should always be an option as long as informed decisions are made towards the tasks set before a child. Realignment, redirection, or even abandoning of certain goals should be clear options agreed upon ahead of time for every goal in life. That's bringing down the walls of judgment only parents can assist with. Another way authentic bonding with children can develop is by engaging them in authentic new learning. Empowering your child with new knowledge, new skills, or new learning provides a relationship of respect and curiosity. Curious children, when they know they can gain valuable knowledge and skills from you, would always come around to spend time with you. That means a constant zeal for parents' own learning of new things. And how can that happen? We are fortunate to be living in a day and age when new learning is so easily accessible. For starters, Khan Academy, YouTube, Udemy offer a wealth of free resources on almost any topic. Learn something new and share it with your child. They may not display any interest in the beginning, I must caution you. But a consistent, regular sharing of whatever you learn on a variety of topics will develop into an atmosphere of meaningful and purposeful engagement with each other. Symbolic times together, like meal time, or game time, or even browsing time, when combined with conversations revolving around new learning, become the instances of those cherishable quality times spent together. If you want to up the notch for your high-performing children, there are now formal and totally free courses available on any topic imaginable by some of the top universities in the world like Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, Cambridge, Oxford, and so many more. Just Google for massive online open courses, also called MOOCs, MOOCs, and you will be surprised by the abundance of options available to gain that respect from your child that you always wanted. Now, here are some of the behaviors that as a parent you can model, and your children will pick up these behaviors over time. First up, model stress and emotional management through your own behavior. If you get louder during an argument, children will pick up and mimic that behavior. Being louder often means you're out of argument, patience, or respect with the other person. Displaying or even initially faking active listening composure in agitating situations or conversation will lead to a lasting culture of listening to others' perspective before countering them. I often hear things like, "I gave it enough time before I got louder." This is baloney. There is no such thing as a limit of time or trials before getting louder. If necessary, you can put a contentious topic to rest with your child for some time before taking it up again without losing your calm composure. This particular advice also goes along with checking your ego in heated conversations. Many a time, in the heat of asserting your authority as a parent, you end up asserting your ego. Your goal is to gain their respect and have an influence on their decision making, not to inflict fear in them through your physical or financial authority. To check your ego, try saying sorry once in a while and notice the change in their behaviors. Expressing remorse or humility for a mistake made is a powerful trait of the emotionally intelligent people. It's no weakness. In fact, it's the indirect influencing of permanent changes in stubborn behaviors. It produces softness in attitudes towards others. It brings down the rigid walls of defiance and insult. It fluffs the cushion of care from the very same people who were bent on pushing you in the first place. And now, One of the best supports a parent can provide to his or her child is to make sure they get respected and accepted by their peers and their teachers. Empower your child to gain influence among his or her peers. Invite his friends to your house and make them feel welcome. This will bring down many of the cultural and social stigmas your child faces at school. It will also help with the fear of rejection by your child's peers. This will also help your child gain respect out in school. Make frequent respectful contacts with your child's teachers and keep him in loop with all such communication. Remember, you are advocating for your child and not for his or her teacher. It's okay to offer alternatives that are acceptable to the teacher and your child instead of blindly accepting the teacher's perspective. Teachers are also human beings. They will listen to suggestions if offered with due respect. This brings us to the end of part 2 of this series. In the subsequent programs, we'll go over the emotional vocabulary and emotional literacy in depth. But for now, you're armed with enough tools which can tell you about the causes of anxiety and also some of the strategies that you can use with your children to counter these situations of anxiety and stress. I hope this will empower you to have a better relationship with your children. And until next time, have a good day.